Today, the Tour is in the historic city of Mayenne for Stage 3. This will be one of the most significant. Bill, here's the team we're talking about. Motorola will leave Mayenne in 6th place overall. And what about the possibility of an American, Andreu in yellow, on the 4th of July?
It's possible. Certainly, you're going to have to take a look at Once now with Jalabert in the lead. They're going to be the toughest people to beat. I think they're the favorites coming into the race. And, you know, we'll see how we stack up with them at the end of the day.
The team in 11th position overall, taking their place on the line. Their time is going to be on the line. That is Miguel Indurain, one of the best time trialists of all time. Motorola not the only team wearing red, white, and blue today. A lot of eyes will be on this group right here. Team gone, minus Chris Boardman. Their ace is out and back home after Saturday's crash. But how will Team Motorola do today? Let's check in now with Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwood.
Motorola quite clearly were a little bit asleep yesterday because they had nobody of note in that front group, and the men like Lance Armstrong and Frankie Andreu should have been looking for the split and should have been up there.
That is a shame because Frankie Andreu did start the day just 5 seconds behind the overall leader, and now he's down in 10th place, 27 seconds back. So a good ride by the Motorola squad today could put Frankie Andreu up in the yellow jersey, but they will have to do a superb ride to beat the Once squad, who I feel today have got to be the favourites for this team time trial.
We can expect, as these teams do near the finish, we're in the area of a little Switzerland in Normandy here. This is the most beautiful part of France, so different in fact to Brittany, which is the department almost next door. And they're so different too, the character of the people. In their own way, of course, they're both extremely nice, but they're always in competition, the Normand and the Breton. And of course, Bernard Hinault, the 5 times winner, he came from Brittany. And Jacques Anquetil, the other French 5 times winner, well, he came from Normandy. And it's always been a little bit of a joke around the Tour de France when they used to get together. But sadly, Jacques Anquetil is no longer with us.
But, Phil, his spirit of competition certainly is. And who knows, maybe his memory may be pushing some of these younger riders here today. Among those 9 riders are the only 2 Americans in this year's Tour de France, Lance Armstrong and Frankie Andreu, who actually has a shot of wearing the yellow jersey. Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin are ready to take Motorola off the line.
Well, looking at those faces, Paul, they are taking this day very seriously. This is the nervous few seconds before they're released by the holders there. Tense moments. They know a lot depends on this. They all want to get this job over with now. Let's get started, and let's see if we can lift Frankie Andreu even into the leader's yellow jersey. What a wonderful happening that would be. Stevie Schwartz is the rider, I think, leading them away. But we've got all 9 settling quickly into the diagonal formation. And it could have been big Sean Yates, the British rider there, who started first. It most likely will be Sean. He's the man we all call the animal, but he's got all of the speed, the power in the line. It certainly is the way he went round that corner.
He's one of the most experienced men on this squad. He's a team time trial specialist. He loves this kind of effort because it's a chance for him to give out an awful lot of pain. It's strange to see him, though, wearing that profile helmet. Yates does not like to wear a helmet, but because of the advantages in an event like this of the helmet, they've decided that every member of the team will wear it because it gives them just that little bit more advantage.
There we have Lance Armstrong, the leader of the team now. He's going on the back wheel of Yates, so he's opted to follow the wheel of Sean Yates. They choose their men, or they work out their own pattern of which wheel they will follow.
Phil, here's how the top individual riders stood coming into today's stage. Jalabert in yellow, of course. Frankie Andreu went from 5th to 10th because of Motorola's mistake yesterday. Only 5 seconds separate Tony Rominger and Miguel Indurain, so Rominger's team, Mapei GB, rides today will certainly be significant.
Now the pressure on this team to turn in a good ride for their man, Verzin. Quite a possible winner this Tour de France if Indurain does turn out to falter as the race unfolds, because Verzin beat Miguel Indurain, very convincingly so too, in the Tour of Italy last year. This year Indurain didn't ride in the Tour of Italy, and Berzin wasn't quite on his best form, but he did win a stage on his birthday. But he was saving himself perhaps for the big showdown here in the Tour de France, and soon we are going to know just how good the form is of the leader of the Gavis team. Very crucial day for this team today. We want to see them turn in the goods. They finished 6th last year, by the way, over a similar distance, slightly shorter by just a kilometre, where they lost 1 minute and 2 seconds to MG. And Bontempi, Guido Bontempi, the rider who I think from memory has won 10 stages at the Tour of Italy and a number of stages here in the Tour de France, has made such a great start. He hasn't waited for the rest, Paul.
Well, that was a bad error there by Bontempi. You have to start a little bit more slowly just to take the speed up of everybody else in the team. Bontempi ripping away from the start there, but they do have some strong riders in this Gavis squad here. In fact, a man who was last year world champion in the team time trial, that's Colombo. That was in Sardinia, the last time the World Championships will count in the team time trial event.
And all of the riders staying out of the saddle for a considerably long time after that start till they find the rhythm. We switch through here now to the AKI team. They're making their way up to the finish. The best time, remember, Brescia, 1:16.06. They're in the finish line. And now AKI, who were only slightly slower than at the checks out on the course, just about 20 seconds down. This is Dmitry Konishev bringing them up to the line. The first former Soviet Union cyclist ever to win a stage of the Tour de France. He's up to the right there now. He's moved off. And AKI want a good time here. They want this time to compare with the big teams that finished later, like Benesto, Mapei and Omse and Gavis, because of Zenon Jaskula. And Jaskula, in fact, is in second place here as they drive towards the finish. Those big, strong legs. Jaskula is a good individual time trialist as well. Times are indicating that it's going to be around 1 hour, 16 minutes and 15 seconds in that region. And we won't know for a while yet if that's going to be good enough to live with the big team still to finish.
Well, they've definitely put a lot of pressure on over the last kilometres because there are only 6 riders left in this squad. Remember, the time is taken on the 5th rider to cross the line, and they've left 3 riders out there on the course somewhere to finish alone.
That's a sign of desperation because they know there's 5 that count. And now they're going to finish off with a reasonable time, but not a great one. There it is, 1:17. They've lost a lot of time over these last few kilometres, especially to the Italian squad, Brescia. So they've obviously had a bad time on the run-in. The team itself, not a great one, I don't think. 1:17.36. They've a minute and a half down. And here's Benesto now. Look at the face here of Gerard Rouet, the big French workhorse on the Spanish team, because I think Benesto are going to really throw a big spanner in the Tour de France machine today and put Miguel Indurain right up amongst the leaders. And if the face of Gerard Rouet is anything to go by, this team is absolutely flying.
They really look well today. They've got together straight away after the start. They were so organised, and there's the time coming through at the moment. It will be the best time for Benesto, well inside the time of MG Technogym, which is a good squad itself, with Gianni Bugno leading them, Fabio Baldato going for the yellow jersey today. But that was the team out on the road. Benesto doing a superb performance.
The last team to leave the gate back in Mayenne is Team Once with Laurent Jalabert in yellow.
The fastest team at 22 kilometres, still with the top teams to arrive, is the MG Technogym team. They've been through in 25 minutes and 4 seconds. He, in our opinion, is the top team today. The Once squad on the start line with the yellow jersey of Laurent Jalabert. Clearly going to make his start in the line of riders rather than at the front. And this team know their job today. It's an easy one. They've only got to record the best time and thereby increasing the overall lead of the man in yellow. Easier said than done.
Definitely, but they've got some extremely strong riders in there to help Laurent Jalabert. That would be Eric Brooking, Johan Brunel and Herman Diaz-Zabala, Melcho Mauri, the Spanish time trial champion. So when they get together, they will really produce a superb ride.
So Once are the third last team to go. All of the teams today starting at 5-minute intervals, and Laurent Jalabert well aware of the fact that it is the 5th man to cross the line who will stop the clock for the whole team. So they can only go as well as the 5th rider in the squad. Vitally important today. Many of the team leaders think this should not be part of the individual classification in the Tour de France. because the individual rider can have no control over what a team necessarily does. And unless you buy a strong team for the Tour, then you, I suppose, in some ways, you're going to have a real job winning the race at all. So Jalabert receiving all the applause of the Normans watching the race now, as he received yesterday when he pulled on the yellow jersey 1 year on from that terrible crash at Armentières.
Phil, perhaps one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of the Tour, maybe something close to what Greg LeMond performed back in 1989. Getting faster as they move up the line, Team Motorola. This is the only American-sponsored team with a global face, really. 7 nationalities represented by the 9 riders. They are team-based, no real superstars, but an excellent mix of individuals with a team spirit. Led by Lance Armstrong, the 93 world champion, he's trying here this year to confirm that he has matured to become a contender. Alvaro Mejia, a Colombian, an outstanding mountain climber. Their approach is to ignore the sprints, win the stages in the hills, and then the mountains. Coming close to the third split time now. Let's go back to Phil and Paul.
Lance Armstrong leading the team at Motorola now, and they are going quicker and quicker and quicker at every checkpoint. Watch out for this checkpoint here, because they are with the fourth best time through at 42 kilometers. They're now coming through, they're chasing the time of Festina. Watching, if they beat that, they'll be the 3rd best time at this point here. And they should just about do that. Yes, they have. They've gone through with the 3rd best time now at this checkpoint. But of course, Gavis behind them is travelling at a much quicker rate. But it looks to me as though we can expect Motorola to keep up their good run of success, Paul, and possibly take a top 4 finish tonight.
They may well do, as we look down there on the shadow of Francois Simon, who's been dropped from the rest of his team. He's wearing the polka dot jersey of the King of the Mountains. But it's been a superb start for Castorama. But the team here doing a lot of work out on the road is the Once squad, who've gone through the 42-kilometer checkpoint 35 seconds adrift. So they're actually pulling themselves back up over the second part of the course towards the time of Gay Ballon. And let's not forget that they have to stay ahead of Gay Ballon if they can, to keep hold of the yellow jersey.
And here they are, the boys in pink from Once with the yellow jersey on. That they've ridden a very sensible race, gradually going quicker and quicker as this race has got a little bit longer. And the Once team, who only finished in 11th place in the team time trial last year, they conceded over 2 minutes to MG. This year they have much more reason to ride, because they have Laurent Jalabert in yellow on it. Number 62 at the back here is Eric Breukink, a former wearer of the yellow jersey himself in the Tour de France and a podium finisher in Paris. And Herminio Diaz de Bala, number 64, just in front. He really is the man who keeps this team organized. He is a very, very happy-go-lucky Spaniard, but he, my goodness me, is a strong man. They put him in the team every year because of his ability to organize and do a lot of the pace-making himself. This will be his 6th Tour de France.
They still look extremely good at the moment. Everybody's doing their work at the front. I think they actually have lost 1 rider. I was trying to count how many heads there were there as we go past one of the Carrera riders, and it may well be the number 66 who came in at the last minute. Luis de la Ortúzar was actually dropped from the formation. He seemed to be struggling in the early part of the day, and it may well be that he's out on the road somewhere.
Once are now into 2nd place at the 42-kilometer check, 35 seconds behind the Gavis team. Notably 15 seconds ahead of Indurain's Benesto squad. They need to be very close to Gavis today. They don't have to win to keep the lead with Jalabert, but they must be very close to that winning time of Gavis, because they've gone so well. And if Gavis were to win at the team time trial with the right margin today, then it would be Yvon Gotti in that team, because he's the highest placed member of the Gavis team in the overall classification, who would be given the race leader's yellow jersey.
So the question becomes, Bill, can they keep up the pace to protect it? Team Motorola with the 2 Americans, well, their pace is pretty good. Further ahead, Team Gone, not looking so hot. They're minus Chris Boardman. Why? Well, on Saturday, we could see it coming. The anxiety, self-imposed pressure to push it, defend the prologue title that made him an immediate hero last year. But at 47 miles per hour, 1.5 miles into the Tour, his confidence came right out from under him. As he fell, so did his high hopes. He promised himself that anything less than finishing in Paris was unacceptable. Now that vow was broken, as was his ankle and his wrist. Could not continue.
Well, 1 minute I was going at 80k an hour, and the next minute I wasn't. I'm not so sure it was me pushing too hard, actually. That was my first thought. More the change in surface, and with the dimming light, it was very difficult to see where it was totally smooth tarmac and where it was grippy. And when you're pushing it to the limit, that makes a big difference.
This promising young rider can now only look back at last year and remember the pace he set that his team really couldn't keep. Trying to carry the whole load himself, he left the Tour exhausted. The Tour de France dropout. Now with 7 members left, Gane is about to finish the time trial.
And this is the arrival of the Gane team, and how they have missed those 2 men, Chris Boardman, the great time trial rider, and the strength of Eddie Seigneur, the French champion, because their time is way off the board. They're going to come in, I think, with about the 8th or 9th time at this point, but there are still something like 9 teams behind them. So this has been a very, very unhappy tour so far for Chris Boardman's Gane team, and Chris, of course, at home in his hospital bed where he was operated on yesterday to have a plate put in his broken ankle, although the good news is the surgeon has said it will heal perfectly. But that's no good for the Gane team today, because they've struggled without their 2 leaders, and their time is going to reflect this.
And they certainly will miss Eddie Seigneur, the man who was the champion of France last Sunday. But look at that, they're going to come in round about 7th place at the moment. They've got to try and beat the time of TV, Polish Direct there, 1:17.56, and it may well be that they'll just finish outside that as well.
Well, there it is. They are absolutely right, Paul. They have done just that. They get the 9th best time so far, and it will be a lot lower than that when this day ends. 1 hour, 18 minutes.
But, Phil, they never gave up. Minus Seigneur, minus Boardman, you can still see the effort that these guys put in today. They'll probably finish in the bottom half of the field. Still a couple of teams still out on the course, including Team Motorola. Great spinners, including Jamaluddin Abdujaparov of Team Novell, as they head up the final few hundred yards. Phil and Paul are at the finish line.
The red helmets of the Dutch Novell team, and the man in green, Jamaluddin Abdujaparov, survives a day here to fight another day for that green points jersey as the riders come up to the line. But again, the Novell boys don't really have an overall challenger for this year's Tour de France. The whole team is shaped around the man in green, Abdujaparov, who so far has done everything they expect of him. Franz Masson swings away there. Vachislav Yekimov brings the line through. Abdujaparov on 2nd position, and the time will not set the world on fire, because they were not amongst the leaders when they went to 22 kilometers. There is the demon sprinter, Abdujaparov, who has quite a following in the United States after his 2 visits to the Tour du Pont. Now there's trouble here further down the race, because this is Castorama, and Francois Simon, the leader of the King of the Mountains competition, has been left by his team. That's further down the road, because they started a long way behind Novell, and this is Novell arriving at the finish in Alençon. But what they have done, under the instructions no doubt of team manager Jan Raas, is not to go too quickly to ruin the team formation, keep everybody together. They've done just that as the team comes up to the line, and they're all desperately trying to fan out for the 5th wheel over it, and Andy wins the sprint again. Well done, Abdujaparov. Oncé are now into 2nd place at the 42-kilometer check, 35 seconds behind the Gavies team, notably 15 seconds ahead of Indurain's Benesto squad. They need to be very close to Gavies today. They don't have to win to keep the lead with Jalabert, but they must be very close to that winning time of Gavies, because they've gone so well. And if Gavies were to win at the team time trial with the right margin today, then it would be Yvon Gotti in that team, because he's the highest placed member of the Gavies team in the overall classification, who would be given the race leader's yellow jersey. And for Gotti, Paul, it's his first Tour de France.
It would be his first Tour de France, and he has never had a victory as a professional. He turned professional back in 1991, and it's been incredible. He's a strong worker, a man who's always been the domestique, a little bit like Sean Yates last year, who held the yellow jersey of the Tour de France. And what a crown that would be for him to hold the yellow jersey ahead of his teammate Eugenie Berzin.
And it would keep the pressure off Berzin as well, because they would have the attention of another leader on the Gavies team rather than Berzin himself. It's all about time games today as a team, but it affects the individual classification. 20 kilometres to go still for ONCE. Still time, of course, to close down that gap on Gay Wiz. And the ONCE have now put their 4-star fuel in, I think, and they're beginning to go well. Back up to the finishing line. This is the Carrera team coming in now. The team of Marco Pantani and Claudio Chiappucci. Their time checks have kept them slightly away from the leaderboard, but it looks like they should just be inside 1 hour 16 minutes if they've maintained the rhythm so far. The best time is 1 hour 14 minutes 9 seconds by Banesto. Second, 1 hour 14 minutes 44 seconds, the MG Technogym team. And I think we can expect a 1 hour 15-minute ride from the Carreras. So the Carrera team arriving with a loss of 1 or 2 riders too. And the longer line now as they make it towards the finish. But Carrera, I think, are not going to be over happy at this, because with a time of around about a long 1 hour 15, they are conceding an awful lot of time to Miguel Indurain. They're probably going to give away, Paul, the best part of 2 minutes here to Indurain, and that for Pantani and for Claudio Chiappucci, I would say, something of a disaster.
Well, most certainly, but there's another man losing an awful lot of time out there on the road at the moment as Chiappucci powers towards the finish line. In fact, it would be Tony Rominger, who seems to be having an awful lot of difficulty out there on the course. You see Carrera coming in with a time at the moment which may well just be in 5th place, but they really haven't got it together. But this is a team for the mountains, not for the team time trial.
And they come over the line, 1 hour 16 minutes and 21 seconds, 2 minutes 12 seconds. Chiappucci and Pantani lose to Miguel Indurain. And there are 2 riders in the coloured hats on the left. They've lost a real big time here today. It's all too early to say they've lost the shot of the Tour de France for the yellow jersey in Paris. But my goodness me, 1 or 2 people will say they've done just that. Back with the ONCE team here. Alex Zula's the rider at the back. If you look at the situation at 42 kilometres, Gay Wiz Balanas gone through there with 45 minutes and 16 seconds. ONCE 35 seconds behind. Banesto third at 50 seconds. MG Technogym were fourth at 57 seconds. Motorola fifth at 1 minute and 14 seconds off Banesto. But although Banesto did accelerate over the last part of the course, it does appear too that both ONCE, as we're watching here, and Mapei are also accelerating over the course. They've started behind Banesto, but the gap is closing quite rapidly.
It is at that first time check, it was nearly 40 seconds, the difference between these 2 teams. Now it's down to 28 seconds. It may well be that Tony Rominger has played his cards properly. He realizes how important this team time trial is today, and he knows that he can't concede too much time to Miguel Indurain, because at the end of this week, we have the individual time trial, Miguel Indurain's own terrain.
Team ONCE with Laurent Jalabert in the yellow jersey. The overall leader of the Tour is just flying along, getting faster the further they go.
This is the ONCE team now, also continuing to close their deficit on Banesto. They were 3 seconds slower than Miguel Indurain. At 22 kilometres, they went ahead by 15 seconds of Indurain at 42 kilometres. So the teams are not in any way overawed by the strength of Indurain.
Definitely not, but in fact for the ONCE squad, who at that second time check were 35 seconds down on the Gay Wiz team, they really have to keep it at that margin, because if they lose 43 seconds, then we'll have a new yellow jersey holder in the Tour de France tonight in the form of Ivan Gotti, the man who never yet in his career has won a race.
Well, it seems this year's Tour de France was designed to present us with big surprises. It's done it every day so far, beginning with the terrible tragedy to Chris Boorman and his accident in the prologue time trial, the bad weather, the surprise lead of Jackie Durand. We're beginning to wonder what will come our way next, and it might well be that Ivan Gotti will be the next leader of the Tour de France. Who knows? Nobody knows just yet, because at the moment the ONCE team have only one thing on their mind, and that's making sure that Laurent Jalabert keeps that leader's yellow jersey. And there looks to be no weak links at all now in this ONCE squad, as they're driven along here by Johan Bruneel at the front, the Belgian rider, who, by the way, won the road race stage a couple of years ago in the Tour de France, which is still the fastest ever road race stage in the history of the Tour. A beautiful formation, and the team time trial is such a lovely event when it's done properly by the best men. They are inch perfect here.
today's result is really going to be the importance, I think, of the cohesion of the teams over the last few kilometers. And this is the Motorola squad coming up to the line. They've put some good times out on the course. And they've really got to power up now. They could have had Frankie Andreu in the yellow jersey this evening, but it seems as if over the last couple of kilometers they've just slipped back a little bit.
Motorola coming up towards the line. They've always been on the leaderboard at every check on 4th or 5th position. They're looking to live up to the last 2 years of terrific team time trial performances. They were second last year, just 6 seconds off the victory. If anything, they may have slowed a little bit. That's Lance Armstrong grabbing the back wheel there to make sure he's in on the count of the top 5 finishers. All of the riders who finish together get the same time to their individual standing in this race, and now they're sprinting it out for the line.
This is Steve Bauer on the front, followed by Sean Yates, the big man from Forest Row in Sussex. They're really giving it everything they've got. They've got a former world champion in their midst in the shape of Andre Perron. Alvaro Mejia, a man who could be a challenger to Miguel Indurain later in the mountains when we get there, but they've got to give everything they have got now in their legs to get to the finish line and record a good time.
And here's Motorola. They've shed a couple of riders just in the last kilometre or so as they try to desperately get a time which will put them up amongst the leaders. They've hovered there throughout this race, and there we can now see that they're rivaling Festina's time, which currently occupies 3rd place. Motorola on this finish will currently be in 3rd, although there are teams going quicker than them out on the course at the minute. 5 men sprinted out. The clock will stop at the back of this group for Motorola, and they're just exactly 1 minute slower than the Miguel Indurain's team. As we immediately switch back to the Once team, the team that has been gathering momentum throughout this race, and now we're getting the check. Look at this, they're matching Banesto's best time recorded at the 3rd check, and they're going to go through quicker. So Once go through in 2nd best time behind Gavis. Banesto are now 3rd, so everybody is gaining here.
35 seconds, so they seem to be holding that distance between themselves and the Gavis Ballon team. The number that they need to keep it at is 43 seconds, because if they finish 43 seconds behind the Gavis Ballon team, then Laurent Jalabert will lose that yellow jersey that he fought so hard to get yesterday.
So Once are unaware of our calculations, and I always hope we're right, but I'm sure Paul Sherwin is, because he's written these as well, and cyclists are born with computers' brains, because so much depends on seconds, even when you're making an effort like this. 43 seconds that they're looking for. They must not lose that to Gavis. At the moment, everything's looking pretty good for Once, but it's going to remain a very close tour at the top on the overall leaderboard. Although further down, we must look at the race favourites. We must see Gavis's gain over Indurain, Banesto rather, as something that will indeed be significant for the next time trial, because the team leaders are the men who are going to profit by the rides today. And Berzin rides for Gavis, Indurain, of course, for Banesto.
This is Team Once in pink, protecting their man Laurent Jalabert in yellow at the back of the pack as they move toward the finish line of the team time trial. Let's go up ahead to Phil and Paul.
Now the arrival of Gavis. They set the road alight with their superb check times. At 22 kilometres they were leading, at 42 kilometres they were leading, and so too at the 52-kilometre check, and now they're going to confirm the best time so far on the leaderboard. They are really going to wake the Banesto boys up, who have done a time of 1 hour, 14 minutes and 9 seconds. Remember that Banesto is Miguel Indurain's team. This is the team of the newcomer, Evgeny Berzin, and every second beating of Banesto will be time gained for Berzin over Indurain.
That's definitely what he wanted. He started the day some 30 seconds behind Miguel Indurain in the overall standings, and whatever he can do to get back that time today will put him back up in the contention, in the leaderboard, and he will feel a lot happier if he can grapple back some time on Miguel Indurain. His team have been superb out on the course today. They've led all the way through, and it may well be that they're going to dislodge the Banesto team off the top spot.
And they're so anxious to get to the line here. There's Berzin going through like an express train, 3rd in line. It's the 5th man they've got to wait for, even if they've got the speed to push it even harder. Number 18 is Bjorn Ries, the champion of Denmark. Berzin's the little man with no crash helmet on. The wind blowing through his hair as they now sprint for the line. Ries slips it up again. Now they sprint for the line. This is going to be a time. Look at this time. Banesto already on the leaderboard in 1 of 14 and 9. This is going to give Gay-Wiz perhaps a minute over Miguel Indurain for their individual riders. This is a superb time. It's really opened up the Tour de France today. Well done, Gay-Wiz. 1:13.10, almost a minute's gain for Evgeny Berzan over Miguel Indurain.
Phil, let's take one more look at the intensity on the face of Yevgeny in the shades as his team Gay-Wiz comes across the line. Last team on the course trying to keep their man in yellow is Onse.
Eric Royking of Onse now bringing the team up towards the line. The time, remember, that Paul has calculated they must do 1 hour 13 minutes 53 or better to keep the yellow jersey on their squad. And they, I think, are aware of this fact. That is why they've gone so hard over these last 15 kilometres to try and get the time that they require to keep Jalabert in yellow. And there is absolute commitment. This is Alex Zula now, who's putting all of his weight behind those pedals. He was a rider who crashed as well in the Prologue time trial in the rain on Saturday, but got up to live to fight another day. Zula bringing the team home now. Jalabert is the rider in yellow. The clock stops on the 5th man over the line. Total commitment as Diaz de Bala just off to the left of our picture. There he is now. His face a picture of pain as he brings this team through. 1:13.53 is what they need. They're going to do it. Onse have pulled this out of the bag over these last 15 kilometres. What a ride, and they're giving Jalabert the privilege. Jalabert to cross the line first in yellow. I think he's done enough today to keep it. He crosses the line. 1:13.45. I think that's enough to keep him in yellow. Well, this has been a desperate team time trial today, and one of the best we've seen, I think, in the Tour de France. There's the face of Laurent Jalabert, the rider who must have known out on the course Gay-Wiz had put in such a great ride. That team pulled something special out of the bag with something like 10 kilometres to go. They're now home with 1:13.45. And the very neat formation here of Tony Rominger's team, but I think when they get to the finish, it's going to be revealed that Rominger has lost crucial time today to the main men in this year's Tour de France. Men like Laurent Jalabert, yes, we must include him now as a likely man to take us down to the Alps, and Miguel Indurain and indeed young Evgeny Berzin. They are seemingly the men to worry about in this year's Tour now. Rominger, who's leading the line here as he tries to keep this pace up high, is losing time as they head up towards the finish.
He's losing a little bit of time today, and I think he must be thinking of all the accidents that have happened to his team over the last couple of weeks. One of the strongest men they could have had for the team time trial, Abraham Olana, who was the Spanish champion last year and the time trial champion of Spain, was out with a broken collarbone. He couldn't take part, and I think they're dearly missing him today.
So the Mapei team of Tony Rominger, they finished 5th last year, and it's not going to be far off the same position again this year as they come up towards the line now, matching the time of MG Technicom, just beating it. 1:14.43 for the Mapei squad. Big time losses for Rominger today.
Phil, exactly right. It was Gay-Wiz who really did the best job as a team today. Team Onse was Jalabert was second. Banesto had the best split early on. They came in third. That's Indurain's team. So the sun is going to go down on the 4th of July. No real celebration for Lance Armstrong and teammate Frankie. I'm telling it like it is. Great day, however, for Gay-Wiz. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position behind Laurent Jalabert, who remains in the yellow jersey. By the way, Gabriel Colombo, former world champion. Indurain and Rominger, 11th and 17th, and Andreo and Armstrong are Americans.